Okay, so are you guys, do we have things to bring to our conversation about what we've been consuming?
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm going to kind of wing it
Okay,
because I haven't really been consuming much. And then last night I impulsively watched a movie. And so I'm just going to see what I have to say about it.
okay.
All right.
Tell us about this movie that you
Oh,
watched last night.
okay. Well, um, I'm thinking like, do we have to talk about themes of movies and things, or can we kind of segue anywhere?
Go with the
Just
flow.
jump in.
Okay.
Doesn't
So
have to
have
be like
you guys seen Girl Interrupted?
With
Mm-mm.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I've heard so much about it.
Yeah. I watched it because I was like, oh, it's
Hmm.
on Netflix. I've seen it before, but I couldn't remember. So I watched it.
Mm.
And it's about this girl who lives this very like upper middle class life in the US, but she's still like very sad, and then she gets sent to a mental hospital, and all the other girls there are crazy, and Angelina Jolie plays like the sociopath. She's beautiful, but she's
Mm.
a sociopath, and she's got so much power. Like everything she does is so cool, and
and she has jagged bangs, which are
yes,
so cool.
yeah. And when I look at her, it makes me mad because that's not how mine looked. Not how mine looked.
Mine
but
neither.
but I kept watching her and getting so mad at her because I was like, no woman, no human is this effortlessly cool. And
Mm.
maybe I should have found her cool, but I was just like, you're not being real. It's not real.
Because there was no vulnerability.
No vulnerability until the end where she breaks down. So then I liked her
Mm.
more. But throughout the whole
Um,
thing, she's like, everything she does is almost like this perfect way of getting respect from the other girls and admiration. And they all like look up to her more and more and more. Um,
mhm.
And then this is why I'm bringing this up because I couldn't sleep because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that person did that to me. So at one point, this girl like turns on a light by accident, and then Angelina Jolie slaps her. And then I was like,
Mm.
what does she think she has to slap somebody? But then I was thinking about how this girl, when I was like 7 in my class, slapped me because she was doing the thing of like, sorry, I'm really winging it, but she was like, you know the thing where you say I was born on a pirate ship, but then you do this, and it sounds like I
Mhm.
was born on a pirate ship. Oh, I remember.
No, I don't know
Well, we were doing this back and forth when we were 7, and there's a bunch of
that.
old girls around us. And then she said it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you swore you said it. And she's like, no, I didn't. She's like, yeah. I said, yeah, you did. She's like, no. And we kept going back and forth. And then she just decided to slap me. And I was so shocked. I was like, I can't believe, and we're 7. I can't believe you slapped me. And she was like stone cold. Like, that's how it feels. That's,
Uh,
you know how it feels. And
Wow.
wow, that is
yeah,
intense.
it was intense. And I was thinking how this person is kind of like that person was kind of sociopathic in many ways.
Mhm.
um, like you saw it often. And then none of the older girls did anything, but I was thinking like, should, like that felt quite dark to like slap
Mm.
Yeah.
somebody. So what do you think? Is it more? Sorry, I'm trying to open it up.
No, I mean, I think especially with a child, empathy is such a, um, you see empathy in babies. Like, I remember when you were a baby and there was a sad song on, you would tear up and you would get really sad. And when Captain Feathersword lost his, I can't remember, ducky, you would wail and cry. And so having empathy is it's not a thing you learn as a child. I think you have it. So for a 7-year old, to not have empathy is quite chilling, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Do you think, because I had a conversation similar to this with a friend of mine, Reese, not just a colleague, friend, and she's got a son. And this was her comment, because she kept insisting that she has not made it a effort to teach her son empathy or compassion for the next person. She said, I did not teach him this, but this is just who he is. And my argument to her was, you may not sit down and say, we are having an empathy lesson right now, but I think you're molding it in the way that you're raising him. It's just things that you do that they watch. And so forth. So I think we are naturally born with empathy and compassion, but if it is not something that is molded for you to see, okay, cool, this is how we deal with empathy, this is how you show empathy, or this is how you show compassion. If what is being molded around you is the complete opposite of coldness or reacting otherwise, you almost forget, or it buries itself. I don't know. So I think we are naturally born with it, but it needs to be molded. If it's not molded in a child, then they lose it.
Yeah.
I
so
totally agree. And I would,
with the case of, I wonder with the case of sociopaths, if it is just something you're born with, or if it is like not having it be demonstrated enough to you. Because,
and that's the age-old question, because sometimes they have
nature versus nurture.
Sometimes, they have cases like Ted Bundy, where he had a lovely home, never beaten. But I do agree with you, Carrie, about maybe it's not something obvious. Maybe it's just complete neglect, and not even demonstrating empathy, but having an authentic connection with a child. Because you know when there's something honest and authentic, and you know when there's not. And I remember with that child that you're talking about in particular, I remember picking up places where it didn't feel like an authentic relationship, like she was being authentic in who she was. And I don't know. What do you guys think about that? The molding, that place for them to come into, to being honest and authentic. How do you deal with it in the classroom with kids?
I'm trying to think if I had kids that I thought were little sociopaths. Sorry,
Kate, go ahead.
No, but I don't think I did. I think I saw other kids act in the way that they acted. But then when you would look at their home environment, it would make sense. You know? Yeah. So I think like it just stems from, especially when they're that young, I think it really stems from what they are seeing when they're young, like, in their home, or in their immediate environment.
Yeah.
I think at that young, and even just from my even just from the classroom experience also, I find that these little people are sponges. So whatever it is that is happening around them, they absorb it. So like Kay is saying, the ones who had issues, for lack of better words, and I'm not speaking learning disabilities or anything, I'm talking personality related things or attitude related things. You would actually find that when you interact with the parents, you're also just like, okay, I see where that comes from. And even the ones who, for instance, were the complete opposite of the parents, there was always a why. I remember I had one student who had like she was dealing with real anger issues. This was an angry child at 3-4 years old, filled with anger, and her tantrums were real. Like I remember every time she threw a tantrum, you could literally see the anger leaving her body, because
oh my gosh.
And only to realize that, yes, mom was the calmest and most beautiful person. But at that point in time, we didn't realize it, but dad had gone and married a second wife. So dad was absent. So that's where the anger was coming from. So I think there's always a why, and they absorb everything that is happening. So at the same time, when she came to school, Miss Terry was feeding her with all this love and all this attention and just giving it to her in abundance. That the mom came back and the mom's like, I'm seeing a difference. Like she's still angry, but she's able to see times breathe, because these are things that we taught her. Breathe. When it becomes too much, let's stop and let's breathe. So you'd even see her, mom says, even at home, she just stops herself sometimes and she's like, breathe. So yes, I think it really is, there's a lot that comes from home, but we underestimate the role that a teacher plays in that classroom, because we spend a lot of time with those children. And even in those instances, they are absorbing and they are just becoming who they spend the most amount of time with, who is the teacher in most cases.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you know, I had a time in one of the one of the parents was like, why is my child talking so much about money? And then I just realized I was like constantly telling the kids, guys, our board is slow. We need to put money together to get a new board. We're like, oh guys, if I won the lottery, I'd be on vacation. So I think I was just and so now it just like made like some of the like my kids like a little fixated on the concept of money. I think that's when they realized, oh, actually money has like value. And I was like, oh snap, I need to stop talking so much about money.
That's funny. Okay, so Kyla, anything more to say about your movie?
Oh, about my movie.
Or are you still angry about that thing that happened when you were 7?
Yeah. No, I think by the end of it, I was kind of like, it didn't really, Mom, you watched it, right?
I remember like in the 90s. It's Winona Ryder is the opposite of Angelina Jolie's character. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I was more just like, I finished the movie and I kind of felt like, they're all very spoiled and they're all staying in this mental institution and they're crazy, and then it's like, oh, I got out. I just didn't really understand what the theme was, I don't think.
Okay.
What do you think? Because I was thinking like, at first I was like, oh, because they did defy the like snottiness of their like upper middle class society when they all act crazy at that time in the restaurant where her family friend visits.
Yes.
They act crazy and they scare her off. And when that happened, I was like, oh, that is great. Embrace your total craziness. So I like that theme of like, you're normal when you're crazy. Everybody's crazy. But I didn't.
To a certain extent, yeah. No, I'm agreeing that like I think we are all crazy to a certain extent.
Oh yeah.
And you can connect with that crazy a little bit, I guess. Maybe that was part of the movie, like who's crazy, the people in the institute or the people who are on the outside. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, okay. I have to think about it more, but
it's good that it got you feeling something though.
It did get me feeling things.
It sounds like you were also frustrated that they were maybe a little bit self-absorbed with their own problems and their own stuff going on and not really thinking about other people.
Yeah, it just felt, that was the thing, and it felt like maybe this is just like maybe the movie's purpose is to examine each individual's like wallowing in their craziness. But I don't like movies. I guess I struggle with movies where it doesn't feel like it's giving a big life picture. It's just purely in, oh, this person is miserable, and not really looking into all the reasons why this person is feeling this way. It's just like a bunch of people who are mentally ill.
No, that's interesting.
Makes sense. I just wish I wish they gave a bigger picture of like, oh, these very upper middle class people who are spoiled and disconnected from their families. Like that's kind of where I thought they were going. But then
You know, it sort of connects to the thing that I was going to talk about, which was the book by Zadie Smith that you also read, that was The Fraud. Are you guys okay if I jump into my book?
Yes,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah.
So the reason I'm segueing from your story, Kyla, is because it was also about a lack of empathy in a way. And not really being able to see the other person, like being so self-absorbed in your own narrative and your own story that you're not able to step out of yourself and see the world through somebody else's eyes. So I struggled with it in the fraud because do you guys know Zadie Smith? This was the first book I read of her. But okay, so she's this London author and she wrote, this is her most recent book, and it's written during the time of abolitionism, the abolition movement in England. So like 95 or somewhere thereabout. And it's written from the perspective of this woman who comes from like upper class England, and then her husband like leaves her and then dies, and then she's destitute, and then her cousin takes her in, but he also is her lover, and she's like a dominatrix in this relationship. So they have this like interesting relationship, but she writes it from a perspective of a progressive woman who's stuck in this kind of sexist world. And she's limited because she doesn't have her own means to make her own living and forge her own way. So she's surrounded by these men who have these massive egos, who are writers and consider themselves like literary geniuses, even though their writing is pretty bad. And she says like she's most upset with William, her lover slash cousin slash what's the thing, if you're not a dom, you're a sub slash sub. But she says that he writes stories about people he's never met and places he's never been. And that's her big criticism, is like, how does he pretend that he even understands these people? And then it kind of moves on from there. So we know she's stuck in the sexist world and she's trying to make a way through it with a lot of compassion for other women who are also subjugated and like treated, not really seen by these men. They just sort of ignored. And then this hyped up trial happens in the UK, where this guy is, or in England, maybe this was England back then, but this guy he claims to be somebody he's not. And then there's a guy from Jamaica who's a slave or a freed slave, who moves to England, and his story is always very clear, and she believes him, even though in England he's facing all of this racism and all of this mistrust, and nobody really sees this man for who he is. But she feels an affinity to him because she's a woman and she's also been exploited. And so she feels like she can understand him and tell his story in a way that nobody else can tell his story. So she considers herself pretty progressive. And so this is why it's uncomfortable for me, because I sort of like to think that about myself too. And this is where it's hard for me to sit with, because she's pretty arrogant in the way that she thinks she can tell his story, and he can't tell his story. And he starts pulling away from her. And he actually says, like, what can you offer me if I tell you my story and you make money off it by writing a book about me? And even though she ended up getting all this money from her ex-husband, whose money came from the slave trade, by the way, even though she was actually really rich now at this point, she said, the only thing I can offer you is a warm meal. And so it was an opportunity at that point to actually have real justice happen, like reparations, to say, I actually don't even want this money, you can have it. But she didn't give him anything. And then he stops trusting her and pulls away, and she's oblivious. She thinks like their relationship is good. Even she fantasizes about like maybe one day being in a relationship with him, even though he never wants to talk to her. And she never realizes that I would say, doesn't ever feel like she was able to see him for who he is. She just thought she had a story in her mind, and then she decided that she knew who he was. And then he ends up dying in England, destitute, with an unmarked grave because he didn't have enough money for a tombstone. And she goes on to write a book called The Fraud, which is about this case and stuff. But I think the question is like, is she maybe not the real fraud? Because she's still oblivious to the fact that he was never seen by her, died impoverished, and she's glorifying. I don't even know what she sees, but I think that that's the pain of the story, is that she had such a massive blind spot and never realized that she did. And so I guess, yeah, that pain of never feeling seen by other people is real. And even though she could see other women who were exploited, she couldn't see how she was exploiting him. So I don't know. That was what I've been sitting with and wondering, what are the times in my life where I've acted arrogant or committed microaggressions and nobody's called me out on it. And I will never know, because nobody will ever tell me.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just go
But I
through
think-
life thinking you're like progressive, but maybe you're actually, sorry, go on. What do you think?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it just goes with anything that we do in our lives. Like you might act in a particular way, and then only to find that another person perceived it very differently.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
And you have
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely no idea. Like maybe you find out maybe like a few days later, even like years later, that like how a person perceived a certain action of yours, and it's an action to you where it's like, oh, this isn't. It's just, you know, it's a normal behavior, and you just continue with your life. You just never, it never clicks with you that, oh, like actually, I could have done this better.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's what, because I also read the book, and that's what I loved about. Did you read the essay at the end?
No.
Well, in the essay, she writes about, like, she words it very nicely. I like how she wrote about it. But to summarize, she said something about, like, when she writes, she likes to write people as, like, she doesn't like to have a good character or a bad character. She wants people who are reading to decide for themselves. So her characters are very complex and very, because when you read The Fraud, there are moments where you're like, oh, she's so insightful, you know? And
Yeah.
you really like her. And then there are moments where you're thinking, oh, maybe, why are you talking like this? Why are you thinking like this? But so Zadie Smith's books are never clear. It's always like you have to go like, what I wonder what she's thinking. I wonder what pieces she's giving us to put together here. But I guess you can apply that to life. Like no one knows.
Yeah, like we are like this, and I think maybe for me, one of the reasons I don't like books like that, with very complex. Either I want to like you or dislike you. Like I don't want to have like a middle ground.
And so you read so that you can like people or dislike people more easily than in real life.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't really appreciate the complexity, because I feel like life is like that. And then also like with these books, it's too real.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, you know, here I am thinking like, oh, like, you know, I'm just like this this person who's a good person, I would like to think, for the most part. But then like to another person, maybe I have done something, and then that has like villainized, they villainized me because of an action, and I have no idea.
Exactly.
No idea.
Yeah.
And you never intended to do that in the way that they assume that you intended it.
Yeah.
How does that make
How
does that make you feel though? Question, if it's ever actually happened to you, what feelings did it leave you with? Like when you found out that somebody had perceived or taken something that happened left when you were actually going right? What feelings have you had towards it? It's just out of curiosity. How does that make you feel?
Like a sense of urgency and panic.
Okay.
Like I need to fix this. I need to fix this perception.
I have felt angry.
Me too. I get angry too.
I've gotten so upset at somebody when I realized that is how they perceive something that happened. Because I was like, you clearly don't know me. If that is what you
That's
felt
true.
I was doing, I've actually personalized it. So I was just curious about what you guys have felt when somebody has come back, even if it's, whether it's a week later or years later, whatever it is, but when somebody just comes back and has perceived something I said or something that happened the wrong way, I have taken such offense to it. And much later on, I have calmed down and I'm like, okay, cool, Tari, it's not about you. This is how they felt. But in that instant of finding out, I'm like, oh, how can you even think that's something I would do? Like, me?
No,
Is that how you view me every other day?
Yeah. No, that is true.
You're
Being
so
missing
right.
is infuriating.
It is, especially when you feel like you've tried and you've tried and you've tried. And people still choose to project all of these things onto you.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's true.
And that's usually what it
hopeless.
is.
I think for me, it's always just like confusion. I'm just always like so confused. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Guys, like just a recent thing that happened, like, because my aunt's been visiting us for like, she's gonna be here for the part like for a week, right? And so, because I know she's gonna be here for a week, and so she came on the Friday. She didn't wash her plate. We don't like leaving dishes in the sink, so she didn't wash her plate. And then, like, I think on the Sunday now, I see her plate in the sink as well. And then I'm like, aren't you gonna wash your plate? I don't know if it's the way I phrase it or whatnot, but then yesterday now we were having a conversation about this. Like, we just came across like this conversation. And so she was saying, you know, like how we kids who were raised in Joburg are very different from how they were raised in KZN. Because she was saying she would I think she would never like talk. She's like, she understands why I phrased it the way that I did, and like she's like, and she's like, yeah, you guys have a thing, but then she also feels like there's a way that like I should have gone about it, or it just. And then she was also saying like, the thing is with us outspoken people is that we come across as like arrogant, right? Yeah, so she's like, you know, sometimes it's like an arrogance. So, you know, you always just like, yeah, I'll tell them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I don't think it's arrogance. It's just like, and I was like, thinking, so it's not arrogance. It's just a matter of not wanting to hold things in and like be frustrated by certain things. And you like, if you're only gonna be here maybe for like a day or so, I'm gonna let the dish go. But if you're gonna be here for a week, I'm not gonna wash your dish for you.
Yeah.
Like,
even if you are my auntie, you're brave, Kuliwe.
No, I agree. I agree.
I would have had it from my aunt, and then my mom would have been like, "Excuse you."
But this is my thing. I don't think this is fair at all. Like, because if I am living with a person, I don't like. Like your age does not matter. Like the thing is, we are living together. I want us to live harmoniously together. And in order for that to happen, like if you are gonna eat late after all the dishes have been washed, then you need to wash your dish because we don't leave dishes in the sink. We're not gonna like. Why must now we bend the rules for you? Like I don't.
I agree.
No,
I think
that's fair. I think it's fair, and you're an adult and she's an adult, and you're talking to each other as adults.
Exactly.
I think maybe where Tari and I are stuck is like if it was my auntie, I would still feel like a child. I still don't know if I'm supposed to call my aunties like Auntie Kathy, or can I just call her by her first name? I still feel weird not saying auntie before, which is weird at 42 years old.
It's very strange, personally.
But no, I respect that, Kaliwa, that you're saying let's talk about this stuff. But even when you're just trying to be honest, it's misperceived as arrogance.
And I think like I'm just thinking of it like long term.
Yeah.
You know? Because I love having her over. And in order for me to like keep loving having her over, like then there's just certain things you know, that I feel like needs to be done, so that like there's never a point where I'm just like, oh, you know, about like a person.
The way you've explained it, where you've actually said that you are having your meal after everybody else has had their meal, after all the other dishes have been washed. It's not like a thing of
that's true.
Everybody washes their own dishes here. It's like you have chosen to eat outside of the normal schedule. Let's keep the sink clean. So I think the way you've explained it also, I think I then understand a lot more. It's like, okay, yeah.
And she always eats late. So do you see it was going to become like a recurring thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's how I was like, I went like, but then this is another thing. Like when I said this, I was just like, oh, I'm just like, it's like it's like just a normal thing to say to a person. But it was actually perceived so differently,
Yeah.
which was just like when we were talking about it yesterday, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, but then I like the fact that it was a very, and this is why I like this. She's like my favorite aunt, actually. So like, because, it was like just like a proper conversation where she gives her opinion, like her perspective. I give my perspective, just to sort of like, try and get an understanding. Because she feels like maybe you need to wait like for about a week before you start telling people to wash their dishes. And then I'm like, nah, I think it's different. I think differently to this. Like, I think within a few days, like a person needs to kind of know this is how we do things. Yeah.
But that's so beautiful that you could have that conversation and actually kind of understand how she saw things differently. She understands how you saw things differently. And it sounds like you had that relationship repair in a way that you actually felt closer together from when you started your argument.
Yeah, she's always been one of those aunts that I can talk to. And like, she was actually, it's funny because she was telling me about a friend of hers who a lot of people, like, because at the church she goes to, a lot of people are asking, how are you friends with this person? Because her friend is a very, like, short-tempered person. And I think, like, my aunt is just one of those very calm people who's able to just, have open conversations with people and be like, no, actually, this and this and that. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I
That's
could
very
meet your aunt
nice.
and learn from her. I have
I'm
been
also
having,
trying to learn from her.
yes, because you're also a bit of a hothead. Well, you have not always, but I mean, I'm a hothead.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I react so quickly when I feel accused of something that I haven't done and was never my intention. I also get angry, like Terry was saying, and it's harder, I think, in a relationship. I'm just referring to my like marriage now because we've been like fighting for 3 days and I'm exhausted. And it's exactly what we're talking about, where actions that I've done have been misperceived as me being spiteful or like, and it's like I just need space. This is it. Like it's not an intentional trying to hurt you, malicious thing. It's just like I need to have me time. But I feel so hopeless and angry when it's misperceived in this other narrative that's the same. It's like, how do you even know me? But the problem is I can't be like your aunt who sounds like a saint, who can manage her feelings enough to stay calm. Yeah, no, I fly off the handle. I don't know how to deal with it. Do you guys have any advice? Maybe I need to meet your aunt.
I'm actually just like, yeah, go kind of.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I think it's just very, what was I gonna say? Maybe you should go, and then I'll continue.
Oh, okay. But your mom was asking for advice. I'm just trying to jog your memory.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really advice. It was more like, when you are informed about someone perceiving something in a certain way, it's very baffling. And you kind of like, I find myself raking my mind trying to like get an open perspective of like, what did I actually do for that to be like a valid perspective?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And how much did you make up in your brain? Like, what was the clear action that I did that is clearly like, okay, that was disrespectful or that was malicious. And that's where I find myself going crazy, because I often am like, if I'd gone on a rampage being like, you are this, you are rude, then maybe I'd be like, okay, I see why you think this. But when people perceive subtle actions and then use
something
that
bigger.
to create to personify you, it's very, it drives you a bit crazy,
Okay, so you actually go crazy.
Yeah,
sorry. do you not find that you then, or at least I do, I then cannot just relate that to that one incident. I then look back and I'm like, okay, I guess when I said this 3 weeks ago and she gave me a side eye, this is what she probably thought I did. Like, I
exactly.
go crazy because then I start thinking of everything else that has happened. I'm like, if she thinks this, if he or she thinks this is the kind of person Terry is, then this is how they've thought of everything else that I've been doing and so forth.
Exactly.
I internalize it.
Me too.
You're the same in that regard. I internalize it so much and then I end up going a little bit crazy on my own.
But I think that's fair because you don't feel seen. Like, and that's a very fundamental human need, to feel seen by the people in your life that matter. And if they can't see you for who you are, of course, it's, I think, very destructive. And so for you, Kyla, it feels like panic. Terry, for you and me, it feels like anger. Kaliwe, what did you say? How did you react?
Confusion mostly.
Confusion,
Like,
yeah.
what do you mean?
Okay.
But like, just
That's
based
me
on what,
too.
like with what you guys have said, it's actually so funny that you guys be having this conversation today because I saw this TikTok where honestly TikTok needs to start paying me at this point, the amount of times I talk about it. But I saw this TikTok where this woman was talking about like how she read this book by Brene Brown. And in this thing, Brene Brown is talking about, you know, how her and her husband went swimming. And, you know, this is like while they were away for a weekend. And then she was like, oh, I love that, you know, we can still do this and have fun doing this. And then he's like, yep, let's carry on swimming. And then he just goes on swimming. And then she's like, and then, you know, she's like, wait, what? Like, this is not, he's not responding the way I wanted him to. So then she goes up to him again and she says it again. And again, he gives more or less the same response. And then she's like, you know what? Her initial response is just to like get out of the pool, well, get out of the water and just like, you know, be mad at him. But then now she goes to him and then she's like, listen, the story I'm telling myself when I tell you this is that now you don't find me sexy, like in my swimwear anymore. And like, you know, the swimming together doesn't mean as much for you as it does for me. And then he's like, no, actually, it's just that like I had a terrible dream yesterday, like last night, where I don't know, like a speedboat came and like it was coming so close and we are trying to hold the kids underwater so that they don't get like shredded by the propellers. It was just like this big thing. And so now he's just counting the strokes, just like focused, like maybe like there might be a speedboat coming at any point. Yeah, which was just like, you know, it would be, the world would be so beautiful if we're all like, if someone did something, it'd be like, the story I'm telling myself is X.
Yeah.
But instead, we choose to stop.
Yeah,
We're like,
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah. In couples counseling, I get my clients to say the story I tell myself. But in my own marriage, I do not do that. I just launch into.
It's difficult.
So much easier to be removed, I guess, and not responsive when you don't feel under attack. I don't know. Anyway.
I like that though. I think that is something that we can apply to many other relationships. So not just romantic relationships, but even to friendships and relationships with relatives and so forth. It is definitely something I could personally learn from. I think I would benefit a lot if I were to speak like that and go to somebody and say, the story I'm telling myself is, and hopefully people will reciprocate and also come to me and tell me the story they're telling me.
Yeah. No,
nice.
you're so right. And to lead by example. So to make it a safe space where you're not accusing, you're not criticizing, you're just being openly vulnerable in a very courageous way.
Because I've actually had people
self-awareness
say that where they're like, Terry, you're getting into your head again. And all it is because I tell myself a story. So I like that. That's something I shall take away with me.
And hopefully we can all apply it in our lives.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you know something, but you don't do it. Sometimes you know something, you know, like, oh, I need to do this, but we just don't do it.
Oh yeah.
Because you also like things that make you act, feelings that make you act, like anger.
Yeah. I'm not
And
like
jealousy.
I'm not like a fan, yeah. And I'm not like a fan of like I understand vulnerability and like with how you about the movie, how you started liking Angelina Jolie more, or her character more, when she broke down at some point, where you just saw her human side,
Yeah.
right? So like as much as I understand that, it's also just like, oh, it's so hard to just be like,
Mm.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, who wants to go next?
Or should I?
Okay,
Okay, I'll go
you can
next.
go ahead.
Honestly, guys, I have not had that much time. So what I have been consuming on TikTok is celebrity gossip. Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Great.
Okay.
Let's go into it. I love celebrity gossip.
What's the latest, Miss K?
Yeah, like who is it? Tiana Taylor is getting a
Mm-hmm.
divorce from Iman, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
now they are like Tiana Taylor is this
Who
I don't know
are
if you
these
guys ever
people?
watched.
I have to Google her now.
Yeah, I don't know if you've
Tiana.
seen the Kanye West video. There was a video of his that went like viral for a bit, where
Which
Tiana
one?
Taylor was the main. You know where Tiana Taylor is in there, and like, cause she's so toned, like her body's so toned,
Oh.
and she's
Mm.
dancing in the music video, and people are just like, "Wow, this woman's body is phenomenal."
Wow.
Oh, I see. She's got
That's
lots of
good to hear.
muscles. Got like an
Yeah,
8-pack.
she's a
Okay.
very like she's a toned woman. I think she has like I think they have 2 kids. The husband was a basketball player, and they had like a reality show for a while. And they
Okay.
just looked, yeah, they had like they just seemed like such a wonderful couple, like couple goals.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
then now they're getting a divorce. And like already there were like rumors in the past because they had an open marriage, right, at some point. But then there were rumors of cheating. And so now when they're getting a divorce, like everyone was so shocked, like, what? Why are they getting divorced? And then now when she's talking about it, like later, and she's saying that you know, she had to quit music for a while because of him, because he was like, don't work, you know. And then when she
What
didn't
the?
work, he would complain, yeah, and be like, you're not bringing any money in here and stuff like that. And so now she started feeling like she has to dim her lights,
Mm.
um, in order to keep a happy marriage. And
Mm.
like he would like do all the cheating, after they agreed to close their marriage, and and like she would have to be the one who's just like tell people, oh no, it's nothing or whatever, when in terms of the media, just to try and keep the marriage going. And then now she's just reached a point where she's just like, enough, I'm not
Yeah.
doing this
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's like, wow, good for her for like
Mm,
finally
Yeah.
being able to just say that this is not
enough, is
working
it?
for me.
Mm.
Mhm.
And then we have ASAP Rocky, who's with Rihanna, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I
Has
don't know,
he?
has Rihanna given birth to a second baby yet?
I don't know if she's given birth, but I knew she was expecting. Whether or not the
Yeah.
baby's pregnant, not yet.
But now ASAP
Oh
is
no.
facing like a long term, like he might be in prison for a while.
For what?
For like he shot somebody over like I don't know whatever argument, but like the bullet grazed the guy's foot or
Oh.
something. But so for the
Wow.
fact that he had like a weapon, but then like ASAP has always been a troublesome dude,
He
right?
has.
Yeah. Well,
He
didn't
Yeah.
has.
he didn't cheat on Rihanna before though.
No, he hasn't cheated on Rihanna, but
But
like he's
he's got
always like,
other.
yeah, like he's always fighting. Like in all the countries, he got arrested in Sweden at some point. He slapped a woman in Australia. Like he's just always been this troublesome dude, right? So I'm like, why did Riri now decide to have 2 kids with him?
Yeah.
Like, why would she do that to herself?
I don't know. I mean, I see like he is attractive, you know.
I don't see it.
Don't see
You
it either.
don't?
Pretty boy. I don't think ASAP is like. I feel like Chris Brown actually looks better than ASAP.
Exactly.
Really?
I think for Rihanna, he's a decent looking man as a man. But for Rihanna, I'm in agreement with Kay. I was also like, Rihanna, You could have had anybody.
That's true.
True.
Literally anybody. Wasn't she
Anybody.
dating a millionaire at some point? I mean, like, yes, money, like, just because a man that has money doesn't mean like he's great. But
Oh yes, she was that guy. Yeah.
yeah. And then
No,
now
I
she's with
do.
ASAP.
I just
Sorry,
feel
I'm
like,
just Googling ASAP.
I don't really know A$AP Rocky's music that well, but I just
Mm.
feel like Rihanna's is so good and she's such an artist that she should be with someone as creative.
Yeah. And so it's like also like, but this is why sometimes I think like that where women like now once you reach a certain stage in your life, like you can't date down because like I'm worried that in a few years from now, what's happening with Tiana Taylor and Iman is gonna happen with Rihanna and ASAP because she is the more successful
I
in that
feel like
relationship.
that will. I do get the sense.
So about male egos, they can't handle having a woman who's maybe more famous and more successful. Is that why?
I think to a certain extent. But then you have Oprah and who's that guy that she's with? Stedman.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then you've also got Viola Davis and she's with I don't know what her husband's name is. So it works for them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Maybe you need a man.
musicians.
Oh yeah, maybe you need a man who doesn't have a fragile ego to be able to be more quote unquote successful.
And you see, I think another thing with ASAP gives that vibe.
He does.
He will wake
right?
up one morning and his ego's gonna get the better of him, as opposed to Oprah's partner or Viola's husband. Those men just seem very together. Like as much as their partners may be more successful, they just don't give that vibe of okay, this one is potentially going to wake up one morning and pull a 360 on her. But ASAP Rocky does give that
He
vibe
does.
of could happen tomorrow. Where
last one,
mm-hmm.
Adele and her current boo, right? So, because like Adele's boyfriend right now already, like he already has his money, he's got his millions, but he did not have the fame. He only started getting more famous now and getting like and being interviewed, and his interviews actually like streaming on different platforms because he's with Adele, right? Adele went and bought a house and she's like, oh yeah, because my husband, she's calling my husband, like, oh, my husband like he wants a bigger house, and so she went and got a bigger house. And then when he's in interviews, like he barely wants to talk about her. And now he's writing a book, an autobiography. And it's like if you were not with Adele, nobody would actually like maybe like just a very small And now you out here going on all these interviews because of Adele, really, and you don't want to talk her up in interviews and be like, yeah, she's like my girl, my boo, or whatever. You don't want to do any of that.
But do you not think that one of the reasons, probably not, this is me playing devil's advocate here, do you not think one of the reasons is coming back to what we just said, where he doesn't want it to come across as, oh, he's holding on to onto Adele as his claim to fame. So if he keeps mentioning her, everybody will also, this is as human beings, if every interview he was mentioning Adele's name would have been like, oh, this guy, like he's using Adele's name. So do you not think we can play this card two ways? Where right now he's not mentioning her name and we're offended for Adele. But if he was using Adele's name in every single interview, would really be like, oh, the audacity of a man clinging to Adele's fame.
Yeah.
True. There is that. But still, come on, just be like, oh, I love her. Like, and then just like keep it moving.
Yeah.
I guess especially
but
since
he's giving nothing.
Yeah,
and he's giving nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on, Tara, you one. I'm just worried the power's not off at 6 here.
Oh, okay. From my end, I think mine is very simple. Because of the season, I think I consume based on what I am internally going through, or at least my selective consumption is usually based on the season that I currently am in. And so I think of late, I have really been engrossed. Music-wise has really been motivational / gospel music for me, where I've really been trying to find not even strength is the wrong word, to just a push You know, it's just my hope, basically, where I'm just like, I need something to look forward to. I need something to give me the push for the day. So that is what I have been consuming. Lots of different podcasts. And there's one I listened to the other day, and I shared it with my older sister because I think we're more or less in the same season. And it's a Christian podcast, and the conversation was about embracing the waiting season. And I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I just believe I'm currently in a season of lots of questions of what is next and so forth. Not in a bad way. But one thing that opened up my mind to was just accepting the fact that my now is a season that I actually need to try and embrace. And I think, believe it or not, after having listened to that, I almost felt, okay, cool, because I've got a whole lot of notes in my journal and all of that. And after listening to that, I really have, my whole mindset has changed to, I have to make the most of my current season as I wait for whatever is yet to follow. So yeah, that is where that's what I've been consuming on my end. Lots of pick me up and let's keep going things, which has been helpful. So I'm yeah.
And so the podcast about waiting, what was the nugget or the takeaway that made you feel like, words of inspiration, I can keep going?
To be honest with you, everybody told a different story. So I think it's like 4 or 5 women who were sharing different stories of different seasons in their lives where they felt they were waiting. So some were waiting for a child, some were waiting for a job, some were waiting for a big move. So everybody just had a different season where they were talking about things that they were waiting on. And I think it almost humanized my situation, because I'm like, hey, Terry, you're not the only one. You know? And my belief has always been, if God can do it for somebody else, they can do it for me. He can do it for me too. That's just the mentality I run with so many things in life. And, you know, just hearing their stories of things that they waited for that eventually in the right time came through. And even just the understanding of the wait is not supposed to be easy. The wait is almost like a preparation for whatever will follow. So if the wait feels rocky, then hey, it's going to be a rocky wait until whatever comes through, you know? So I think for me, that was the biggest thing, the fact that I'm not the only one, because there's strength in numbers sometimes. When you know that other people are going through or have been through similar, you're like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's felt lonely in a new place. I'm not the only one who's felt uneasy in a new job that they thought would come so easily. I'm not the only one who's had a rocky 2023 or a rough November, or whatever. As soon as you realize that, hey, I'm not the only one, it kind of makes it seem or feel a little bit less, I'm putting myself into a corner type of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, that idea of this too shall pass. You're not
Yes, definitely.
That's the thing. It's annoying though, like the way
it is.
It's like, for goodness sake, hurry up.
Come on. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so in closing, do you guys remember what Spotify told you were your top bands? Shall we share those, or your music that you listen to?
I didn't look at that. That was
homework.
They didn't do. I'm
not on
probably
Spotify.
suggested, but I didn't do it.
Oh,
but it's easy to find. So Spotify quickly. Somebody else can go along and then.
Kylie, you go. You
find it.
You know yours.
Something that I found interesting was that let me see what they actually said. But I liked hearing like the overall. Oh, they called me a vampire. When it comes to your listening, you like to embrace a little darkness. You listen to emotional, atmospheric music more than most. So I thought
Spotify has defined you as a vampire.
It has. I thought that was interesting how they pay attention to what moves.
Yes.
I saw a video on TikTok about the vampires, and the lady was saying she's a therapist and she's available for her services. Why? There's something ants. According to that woman.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just how you process your pain, is
I
through
think
music.
it is. It is. It
You know what
really-
I noticed between the two of you, Kuliwa and Kyla, when we were in Mozambique? You
Mhm.
guys, music for you both is something like you both listen to it when you're in the bathroom, like in the shower and stuff. Like you put on your music, and then I love Kyla when you do that because it's like you're in your zone and you're doing your thing, and Kuliwa to see you doing the same thing. It's so nice to witness that you're like music is something where you go into. It's like your bubble.
That's true.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Also, in Spotify, Kuliwa, you'll be happy to know, I think they find out like your music according to your charts and your rising signs song and your,
Actually a lot.
yeah.
I'm seeing
Oh, really?
I'm going through it now and I'm like, ooh, because I have been
What was
ignoring
yours?
it all week. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm skipping through trying to read what's interesting, but there is so much. I actually think I need to stop later after this and I will read through it properly.
Does
What
it
was
say
yours,
kind of
Kirsty?
listening for?
My music or my
Your Spotify
star
rap,
sign?
whatever. No, the Spotify rap.
I
thing.
don't even really remember. My artists were weird. It was like Joan Shelley. I don't know if you Joan Shelley is like this. Yeah, she was my top artist, then Leon Bridges, and then the Kooks. I don't know. It's weird. Was that really the
So
top
indie.
listen to music? Is it?
No,
I
it
don't know.
feels very hipster to me for those to be.
Yeah.
But
I have
yeah,
no
but
idea
I
who
didn't.
any of them are.
oh,
Okay. I'll listen. You put your top artists on. I'll listen to yours, and you listen to mine. We can have a. You can tell me how much you hate my music.
Yeah, but guys,
next
I'm not
time.
on.
Why are you
45.
not on
it
Spotify?
should be.
I just like, you know what? Like, I think I'm very stingy when it comes to certain things. I'm just like a penny pincher when it comes to certain things. I don't want to pay for like a music thing, but I can download it.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So where do you get your music?
I just download it. Like, I'm going old school, guys.
Okay, there you go.
No, that's great.
And
Old school.
so what's your favorite artist of 2023 without Spotify telling you who your favorite artist was?
I think it depends on like my mood. But you know, like whenever I know like now I forgot her name. But this woman who whenever I'm feeling or whenever I feel like, oh, I need to be like I think I have like different themes. So there's a certain song that I like, there's a certain artist that I like listening to and I want to feel like a badass, you know, I'm like, yeah, I can conquer the world. I don't need no one. Anyone like that, you know, kind of thing.
What's that song?
What's her name? I feel so bad I don't know her name. But you know, she's got that song, I'm a working bitch. Ain't got no time for dicks.
No, I don't know that song. You need to
I'll
share
send
that
it to
song
you
with
guys.
me.
I'll
Please
send her
do.
to you guys.
Because
but
Kyla and I have one too.
which one is
Well,
it?
I have one.
Which one?
Kick me under the table all you want. I won't shut up. I
Oh,
won't shut up.
Oh, is this
It's
like one
the
of
same
the?
thing.
Is it a song that makes you feel?
Yes, exactly. You're like empowered. Yes, it makes you feel
Yeah,
bold.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel so unoriginal for this, but I really like Beyonce. Like I like her music, but I'm not like a part of the Beehive. But the Beehive.
Beehives.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
you're in
like
good
I like her
company.
music.
mm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she makes me
No,
feel motivated.
totally.
I agree.
Mm.
I'm also a Beyonce fan for that reason because she's got so many that really leave you feeling like, okay, we've got this. I'm
Yeah.
a girl boss.
Yeah. You know, you
Yeah.
just feel.
mm.
What do you think? But yeah, I listen to like a lot of music. It's hard to like pin like
Okay.
a particular artist. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should share our top 5 on our next or underneath the link or whatever. And Kyla, Taylor Swift still.
You know, I was like, how is this happening again? But she's not my top songs. Like my top songs are completely different, but my top artists were disappointing.
She came
Who are
up on
they?
a top art also surprisingly.
Taylor.
Yeah. I'm
Like, I
actually
wasn't-
quite surprised. It's like, oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah.
But who are your top 5,
Thought I
Kyla?
would have something different this time, but
You're loyal. She's been with you for a long time, since you were like, what, 9?
6.
6,
Mm.
of course, when she was the bridesmaid or the princess. Romeo, take me that one.
Yeah.
Juliet.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
watching
like-
that when Kyla was like 6. Yeah.
Taylor's one of those people. Like Taylor Swift's one of those people that I want to dislike, but I actually like her music.
Mm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she makes good music. Like, you know, anyone who says she doesn't is a lie. Is like a straight up hater.
Her
I
writing
think.
is brilliant.
Yeah.
Band-aids don't fix bullet holes. You live like that, you
Mm.
live with ghosts. That's what I've been thinking the last 3 days in my
Even-
relationship.
But even Olivia Rodrigo, I did not think I would like her music, but I quite
Mhm.
like it. It reminds me back to time when I listened to like your Avril Lavigne. Like she takes me
Yes.
back to that,
Yeah.
Yes.
which I like. Yeah.
All of my songs were
Okay.
very like sad and intimate. Yeah.
Aw.
Mm.
Well, now we need to find out if you go on Spotify, Clear, we have to find out if you're a vampire or what they would define you as.
I might be, because I do like I will have my sad girl music moments, hey, where I'm just blasting these sad ass songs. I'm just like,
Mm.
I think music gives you permission to feel sometimes as well. I think that's why I like music so much.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They do
Totally.
say it is the
Okay.
watch of the soul.
Yeah.
Like it's the one thing that like hits right into the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
That
Mhm.
Very
is
true.
Ah,
Yeah.
What- I've
okay,
been
you
singing
beautiful
these-
woman.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think our power's about to go off anyway.
Okay.
Ugh, load shedding,
Okay.
damn it. Anyway.
Oh, Lord. Well, finish your thought, Kyla, and if it goes off, we'll just say bye.
Okay, well, here in Jamaica, I've been seeing all these Bob Marley quotes everywhere, and so one of them is something, I'm butchering it, but something about when you it was good. Something about how music allows you to feel no pain or something. When music gets to your soul, it allows you to feel no pain or something like that.
Mm.
But it's
When it hits
It's
you,
true
feel
because
all
you-
right. Oh, no, that's music. Hit me with reggae. Sorry, never mind. It wasn't from this song. Okay, never mind.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's interesting because it allows you to feel, and by feeling, it's like the real pain of holding stuff in goes away.
Yes,
Mm.
you
Pain, but
metabolize it.
also makes it.
Yes,
It's a good pain that you feel.
yes, it's cathartic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a release from the pain.
It is. It
Mm.
really is.
Okay.
I think I know that
Very
quote.
good.
I also just can't for the life of me remember it. Like
Yeah,
Kyla's
We'll
talking
find
about,
that
yeah.
quote too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, you beautiful woman. Thank you for this uplifting talk. I feel better myself.
Yay.
Yeah. It's always a
Glad
good
to
time.
hear
So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday, same time. I should be able to do 4 o'clock on Friday.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
We'll see about load shedding and kind of whether you wake up in
Perfect.
I
time.
don't
But
know where
yes,
I'll be, but yes.
we have no
Uh,
idea where you'll be
mm.
next day. You're going to be in Kingston, aren't you? There is some reggae thing. Oh no, that's Sunday. Sorry.
I don't know where Friday will be.
Okay, Friday is too far ahead in the
Yeah.
future to think
Yeah.
about.
One good thing